very simply that at the time, as the senior Democrat, which is a position of privilege of the top four, the Gang of Four, we had access to a higher level of intelligence, more intelligence than the members of the committee. At the time, I said, the intelligence did not support the threat. I think that this interim report is consistent with my evaluation.
Congressman, others have suggested that they were misled. Now, you're saying you weren't misled. You saw it from the beginning. Do you think others who didn't have your post in the Intelligence Committee were misled by this? And do you think that if they knew what we know now, maybe that vote would have been different?
Really, I cannot speak to what other people knew or what judgment they brought to it. I'm just saying that when we decide to place our young men and women in harm's way, we have to exhaust every remedy. If the representation is that a threat is imminent, that sets up one decision-making process. If there is time to exhaust other diplomatic remedies, and it's clear now that there was time, then I criticize the judgment of those who rushed, that would be the administration, who wanted to rush into Iraq.
David Case says he needs
I don't think I'll come back to you, but we have others.
Okay.
Do you support the money that Dr. K is now asking for out of Congress to continue this for another 6 to 9 months?
Well, I can only speak to published reports about what that money might be. We did not discuss that upstairs. It has been reported in the paper that in addition to the $300 million already appropriated, that there be a request for $600 million. I don't know if that's the exact figure. I've just read it in the paper. That would be nearly $1 billion. $1 billion. It's a great deal of money. If in fact the weapons are out there, it's a small price to pay to find them. But at some point we're going to have to increase the focus of our intelligence so that we know better where the threats are that are coming at the American people. I certainly believe I have confidence in Dr. K. If he needs more resources and more time, I think he should have them. But I think that there should be a time when a decision is made that we are or not going to find anything. This is an interim report. But even if they find, some very rudimentary evidence of or suspicions of a weapons program, that's a very far cry from having a weapon. And if indeed the weapons existed, we must find them. So yes, I think we should go the next step with this, but at some point we're going to have to draw a conclusion.
So you are not confident that in another 6 to 9 months, which Dr. K has said he needs to make a more definitive conclusion, that there will actually be weapons turned up at the end of that period?
It could be that there would be weapons. Well, as I said to Dr. K, we just want to find the truth. It's not about fighting the battle of whether we should go into war or not. We want to find the truth. We must protect the American people. But one thing is certain. Whatever they find in 3 to 6 months from now, they have not found the imminence of a threat. It is clear, again, that there was time for more diplomatic efforts to be employed, for us to have exhausted more remedies before we went to war. So sure, they might find some weapons eventually. The region, it'd be interesting to compare the program and the aspirations of the Iraqi regime, horrible as they are, with some of the other countries in the region as to the nature of their weapons programs. But again, I commend Dr. K. I have confidence in him. I think he should be given additional resources to continue his search. I have concluded that there was no imminent threat. Take that where you will. But what's important is for us to learn some lessons so we can protect the American people. And if indeed there is this conviction that these weapons exist, then that knowledge of them must have some knowledge of location. 3 to 6 more months should bring some conclusion to that.
Madam Leader,
yes, sir.
Do you think, given everything you've said today, given what you've heard, given your position before the war, do you think that there was an honest disagreement over the interpretation of the pre-war intel, or do you think people deliberately hyped the intel in order to support their position towards going to war?
Interpreting intelligence is a very subjective matter. I have always said, and you know this, that I think the decision to go to war is a very difficult one for a president. I prayed for the president when he was making that decision. I believe that we had not exhausted every remedy. I didn't see the imminence of the threat in the intelligence that I saw. Again, it's very subjective. We all bring our own experience to making that judgment. So I wouldn't go to the conclusion that you have suggested. I would just say that the military prepares for war as a last resort. I do not think that this administration prepared for war as a last resort.
When you talk about additional diplomatic activities, that's sort of referring to weapons inspections.
Well, that would be part of it. The question was, when you're talking about additional diplomatic activity, he assumed I was talking about weapons inspections. That would be part of it, but also to use the moral suasion of our great country to persuade other countries to join us in bringing pressure on Saddam Hussein to stop what we suspected he might be doing, which would be developing a weapons program. Stopping the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction should be a top priority for any president and any Congress. It endangers the world in a way that threatens civilization itself, the ability to live on this planet. And so I support the president's priority that he gives to stopping the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. I don't think that has been very effective in galvanizing the rest of the world in our effort, and with us taking the lead or in cooperation with other countries to stop the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction.
So in hindsight, how would you characterize the pre-war intelligence that you saw and that was given to the administration on the WMD threat?
I can only speak to the intelligence that I saw as a member of the Gang of Four, senior Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. I repeat, I do not think, I said at the time, I did not think that the intelligence supported the threat. I don't take use of force off the table. So it wasn't as if I just didn't want to go to war. I just didn't think that we had the intelligence to support the threat, had exhausted all diplomatic remedies before we put our young people in harm's way. I'm just going to take one more question because I have to go.
I just want to ask you a question on the leaks. Are you concerned that Ambassador Wilson is being painted as a Democrat unfairly? And why did you cancel the meeting that Ambassador Wilson had up here with House Democrats?
Now, let me get this straight. You're saying, am I concerned that he's being painted as a Democrat as unfairly, as if that isn't a great compliment?
They're trying to make it a partisan. They're trying to make it a partisan matter more.
They are trying to make it a partisan matter. I think that's unfortunate. As I said earlier with Dr. K, we just want to find the truth. Now, as you know, I've called for an outside special counsel to be distinct from an independent counsel, not that term of art, just an outside special counsel, because as I said at the time, I thought that the relationships between the Attorney General and some in the administration were too close, and that an outside counsel to investigate the matter is the route that we should go. Of course, the Justice Department makes the decision to prosecute or not, so a good deal of the authority would still rest with the Attorney General and with the Justice Department. As you know, as those of us who are trained on the fourth floor in intelligence, protecting our sources and methods is an article of faith with us. We respect the courage and the patriotism of our clandestine officers and the risk that they take for our country. And so for someone to very cavalierly in the White House divulge the name of someone is a criminal act. There's a law on the books that makes this a criminal act. So I think that we should therefore have a special outside counsel to do the investigation.
The second part of that, why did you cancel this meeting up here with House Democrats?
Actually, the invitation, I believe, was extended before all of this broke in the news, and it was really more to talk about weapons of mass destruction. But quite frankly, as a leader, I had a very full agenda for that caucus that I needed to discuss with my colleagues, and I thought that some other time we could talk about Dr. Wilson's experience in terms of Niger and the weapons from there. Thank you all very much.
Why did the administration rush to war if it wasn't to find weapons of mass destruction?
You'll have to ask them. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
The Senate Armed Services Committee was also briefed today by Arms Inspector David Kaye. And after that, the committee leadership, along with Mr. Kaye, spoke with reporters.